This is Lady Anne, owner of KPNL Radio and hostess of the Caravan Library of Lore, and I support Tessa. As an experiencer myself, I have filed my own reports with them, and the professionalism and heart they have shown my case goes above and beyond. If you have had an experience, I cannot recommend Tessa enough.
Hi, this is Ernie Hudson, Winston and more from Ghostbusters. I want to let you know that Ryan Stacy, he's created the Experiencer Support Association, TESA. You can check them out at www.tesacan.org. Now, they investigate paranormal, UFO, and provide support to experiencers. But you can check them out at, like I said, www.tesacan.org and see for yourself if they're really Ghostbusters. I can tell you this, they are a non-profit organization. Good luck, have fun, and keep it blessed.
Good evening. You are listening to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, a podcast by the Experiencer Support Association. TESA is a UFO, paranormal, and paracryptid investigation association. We investigate everything belonging to the global phenomenon linked to highly strange and unexplained experiences. We also connect experiencers with other experiencers, creating a safe, positive environment to engage and discuss this phenomenon without judgment, criticism, or retribution. From the land of the white rolling sands on the southeasterly tip of Georgian Bay, to all of you listening around the world, as we simulcast live on KPNL Radio, we salute you. If you want to go back and listen to our previous episodes, go to youtube.com/the Experiencer Support Association. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to be instantly notified when we are live, not only for these episodes, but every single element TESA has to offer. On our website, tessacan.org, we have something for everyone. We have support for experiencers, data for independent researchers, and places to advertise for professional partners. Sorry about that. Hello, everybody. Today is Thursday, October 14th, 2021, and I, Ryan Stacy, am your host this evening. I am a licensed private investigator, I am a citizen journalist, and I am the Director of Investigations for the Experiencer Support Association. Welcome to the channel, and thank you for joining us this evening. Remember to super chat, just click the $sign next to your name in the comment box. All donations go back towards the mission. If you're catching this on the replay, please consider becoming a member and unlock bonus content, including behind the scenes and extended footage on new project developments and investigations. Just click the big blue button that says join. We have a very, very special guest tonight. Our guest for season 3, episode 32 is Gary Voorhis. Voorhis, just like Jason. I just made sure that I'm pronouncing that right. And so what a good time for that. So Gary has a background in a mechanical engineering and working as an electronic and RF technician. He was a fire controlman and, I don't know how to pronounce Aegis Computer CEC technician in the United States Navy. His responsibilities included the operation, maintenance, and repair of the Aegis weapon systems and non-Aegis senior systems to test and evaluate experimental upgrades to the Aegis Baseline 6.1 and Cooperative Engagement Systems of CEC for short. During his time on the U.S.S. Princeton, Voorhis had the task of security and inventory of top secret and classified information and materials, including being trained on the W.A.S.P, so W.A.S.P military recon U.A.V for the Pacific Fleet during Operation Enduring Freedom in Operation Iraqi Freedom. On the week of the 14th of November 2004, he was an eyewitness of the U.S.S. Nimitz tic-tac event. As a result of this experience, he was interviewed by Chris Mellon for the History Channel show Unidentified Inside America's UFO Investigation. And today, Voorhis is the president of U.A.P. Expeditions. Their mission statement for U.A.P. Expedition is as follows. The mission, duty, and purpose of U.A.P. Expedition Organization, so UAPX, are to identify, classify, understand, and provide a public repository of knowledge on unidentified aerial phenomenon. UAPX, with preliminary data analysis, supports the construct that if and when individual UAP incidents are resolved, they will fall into one of 5 potential explanatory categories: airborne cluster, natural atmospheric phenomenon, government or industry development program, the foreign adversary system, and classifications which will require intense scientific study to explain appropriately. Gary, put on your tinfoil hat. We are about to go down a rabbit hole. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you so much for being here. So we're going to start the show with an icebreaker from Tim the D guy Morrison. So I'm just going to play a little clip here. So what Tim does is he will provide me an icebreaker question, and I'm looking at it for the first time, and I'm going to ask you. And we'll just start the show that way. So his question for tonight is, what would you do if you found yourself in a haunted hotel room?
Go to sleep.
You just go to sleep. No, you don't believe it?
I know it's boring. No, it's not that I don't believe in the paranormal, but most of the time I'm not affected by them. So
I'm not affected by that at all whatsoever.
So I'd probably hang out, get creeped out for a little while, get super tired, and then go to sleep.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Just check in.
I actually did get to sleep in a haunted hotel.
Okay.
The famous hotel from the song Hotel California.
Okay.
Which is actually the Hotel del Coronado on Coronado Island. I got to stay there in the actual haunted room, and you have to sign a waiver to sleep there.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
what are you waiving?
Nothing happened to me. I literally waited up till about 2 a.m. and then passed out from exhaustion. But that's been the way of things with me. Everybody around me experiences a lot more than I do.
Except the Nimitz, you happen to experience one of the most significant sightings that we'll get into. Before we get into that, one of the questions I had prepped up, which I talked about with you before the show, is, and I'll preface here, like as an observation, there are other witnesses to this Nimitz event that have made it in mainstream media, and Fravor and Dietrich, and then we have Lou Elizondo, all those things. Never had any of them on the show, and I'm curious to know why someone like yourself has not been as readily or as is not in the limelight like these guys. What makes you're a witness to this most significant event? So why them and not you? I'm curious to that.
Probably 2 reasons. One, I don't really care about it. Okay. And 2, it's I wasn't a pilot, and my there's nothing other than operating the weapon system and the radars. I didn't dogfight the thing. I got to see this thing through big eyes at 15 miles away, not up close and personal. dogfighting it, and then I saw it on radar, and then I got to see the full uncompressed version of the video. But I mean, and that's good for some people, but when it comes to what I found when it comes to Hollywood and these TV shows, it's all about the bang for the buck. So a pilot's going to get bigger bang, an ex-special forces guy that used to run a massive UFO investigation for the government. That's kind of a bigger deal than I am. I mean, I'm not, we'll call, if it smells like a duck, quacks like a duck, it is a duck.
Yeah, but see, I would disagree with that. So, like, I understand how the media works. I understand how that does, and I understand that
the media are two different things. Like, you're interested in the actual meat of the subject. You're interested in hearing all sides of it. They're not. They're just interested in ratings, man. And that's just how it goes.
Now I have to take the tension a little bit away from you, but to lead into that, I agree with you that it's all about ratings. But does that mean they're lying, or does that mean they're fabricating? Like, what can we actually believe?
Honestly, from what I've seen on everybody that's come forward in the mainstream media, they are telling the truth based on what they know. It's like, I can only tell you from my perspective what I remember 20 years ago, and what I know and what I've found out since then. So everybody's basically telling it based off of what they know. Like Fravor, in his situation, he bases everything off of the fact that he had a position that was relatively higher in the in the echelon in the chain of command, so he figured he would have been briefed on absolutely everything. Fortunately, that wasn't the truth, but to him it was. So that's just it. Everybody literally is telling it based off of their own personal experience.
Okay.
And generally, they all match up pretty close. The only difference is things that other people couldn't know, like data recording taken off our ship or data recording taken from another squadron. Things like that. Sorry, nobody else but those people are going to be notified about that stuff.
Okay. No, I appreciate that, and I understand that. So as an investigator, when I'm looking for evidence, media is circumstantial evidence, and this video hasn't changed, so there's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of interpretation.
I'd say the testimony is good from the actual people. The way that they cut it may not be. Perfect example is even the episode that I was on of Unidentified was really good, except for one key fact. They made it seem like I personally witnessed the underwater event, when literally right after the statement that they cut off was, I made sure that they understood that was secondhand information that was told to me by somebody, but they didn't bother to add that in. They had a narrative about an underwater USO, and that's it.
That's what they want to lead, right? So if it leads, it bleeds, the media and all these other things. So I guess from my perspective, is it's as an investigator, it's hard for me to accept the media version as evidence because there's money involved, because there's this and that involved. That doesn't mean they're lying, but it's just there's motive there that could twist their arm to tweak and do all these other things. So again, with you not being in that, as you mentioned right at the beginning, you don't care about that attention. What do you care about then in terms of that? Because you are still an experiencer, you are important.
Well, instead of stressing about what the event was or how it could possibly have happened or how it could even be possible, I just accepted that this was a new reality for myself and spent the last 20 years studying physics and engineering instead. Now, of course, I didn't have money to go to college, so anything I know is self-taught.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, except you don't have a nice little piece of paper that says you're a doctor.
Yeah, but you only need that if it, like that's credibility, right? Like, I mean, like, so there's status, and that's a problem. But that doesn't mean you're wrong. You're a witness. You are a witness to the same event.
But it gives me a leg up because I do have PhDs on my staff. So they are some of the most amazing minds that I've met in almost my entire life. I've probably only met maybe one or two other people that had that similar amazing mind that these guys do. So I'm very, very blessed to have these guys on my team.
I can relate to that. We have experts on our team too that have credentials that that supersede mine as well, and everyone has an ace in a place, and we work together as a team. But I just want to emphasize again, and I appreciate your humility, but you are just as important as everybody else because you witnessed this. So your perspective is also important. So I'm curious to know if you're willing to just bring me back to 2004 from your perspective. What happened?
Well, I was introduced to the entire event actually already in a really bad mood. I'd been up half the night on a mid-watch and then got woken up early, which is never a good day. So what that means is that I had a really late night watch that ended at 4 a.m. and then I got woke up at 6 a.m.
Okay.
to start working because I was the only computer tech on board.
Okay.
The problem was unknown aircraft that we were tracking. They wanted to make sure that there was nothing wrong with the systems and things like that. So I'm outside being grumpy, pissy, generally not that great of a person, and smoking a cigarette at the time, and I was bullshitting with one of the other technicians in one of the other areas, and saying that we're going to have to take down the spy computers later to do diagnostics, because they got to try to clear up some clutter and some false tracks. And I'm like, all right, not common, but it's a simple thing. It takes a little while, and it's a procedure, but it just requires me to do a lot of resetting the servers, or the computer servers, over and over and over.
So what was the instruction that was given to you when you were woken up? Just like a regular routine check, or was there an alarm?
Believe it or not, nobody said shit to me. I actually found out about it while I was smoking. I was woke up for just because I was the only computer technician. There was no other reason. You have to be on standby. We're running. They were gonna be doing anytime that they're doing any active missions or they're doing any type of training missions. I have to be ready and to go to reset any of the hard drives, any do data recording. There's a plethora of jobs I had. So
okay.
It's just a matter.
Did anybody say UFO? Like, what is the key word to describe what was happening?
Nobody would have actually said UFO. It would have just been an unidentified. It would just you wouldn't have said UFO just because of the stigma with it. Just unknown. Just an unknown doing 100 knots due south. Coming down from the channel, following the coast, and it's not engaging. So it's a non-hostile target.
Okay. That's good. That's a positive. We don't want it. We don't want that to be hostile.
Yeah. Honestly, it never was hostile and even after we did our interrogations, which basically then did stir the pot with one of them or multiple of them. I still haven't gotten that question answered. But I know for a fact at least one of them was engaged with Commander Fravor.
Mm-hmm. And he engaged with them, right?
Yeah. So he engaged with them and then realized that, well, he was a kid in a candy store, and the candy store, he was about to be schooled,
Mm-hmm.
and that's
from the pilot perspective, that makes sense as well. I mean, the panic is all there. So what I'm seeing is a daily routine. So it's just like I have previous military experience myself. I was an infantry soldier, so like I understand the mechanics around.
Just think of the any time that you were undermanned, and I know
fire picket or something. Yeah.
Well, I know infantry. It's like one day you could be burning, shit in a barrel with diesel, and the next minute you could be out on patrol for 2 days. So mm-hmm. I mean, you're kind of the jack of all trades. You're whatever they need at the time. And mm-hmm. on a ship like mine, everybody has a specialty. Mm-hmm. On a ship, it's a much different animal. Everybody has a job. Everybody has a specialty. The very few people that are undesignated, which would be technically our version of the infantry. Mm-hmm. Actually, no, that's the Marines for us.
Which is a little more advanced, though. That's a little super. Yeah. You guys can swim.
Marines, first in, last out. We got some hardcore bullet sponges. But
thanks.
Yeah, but it's if you're the only person on that ship for that specialty, you are going to be working a lot, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, a lot of it's sitting around waiting, which seems to be a very popular thing when you're not actually fighting.
So how, in terms of this video, I don't know what you can say. You know, this is just the video that became public, and we a
Yeah.
lot of us understand how that came through in the relationships that brought that to
So
fruition. Yeah, go ahead.
So in a longer video, the biggest difference is you're going to notice that it has about twice the resolution that you see in the current clip that you have available for you. Now, most of the meat and potatoes of the video is actually in that clip, but what you don't see is some of its maneuvering, which you can really see that it's not just him trying to reacquire, but it's actually the actual craft maneuvering, and you don't see it a lot because of how fast this thing is. You know, you just all of a sudden you'll just bank over and just out of frame, and then he'd move the jet and then reacquire it with FLIR, and then so you see a lot of that back and forth, and then you actually got to see it turn a little bit, so you get to see a little bit more of its shape. But other than that, you don't see a whole lot more than you.
So
you
based on what
you've
seen, that is more than what's been released to the public.
Oh yeah.
What is your analysis on what this object is?
If I had to just wildly guess, which is still really all I can do at this point, is I believe that it was an unmanned drone of some type. I mean, I don't know of the origins. I don't try to mix words about whether it's aliens or whether it's unknown or a breakaway civilization. I think I'm up to like 78 different, slightly different variants of what this possibly could be over the year.
First too.
Yeah, I mean, but when it comes down to it, the things we know is that it was colder than the air around it. It had a universal heat signature. It could do up to Mach 25. It made no sonic booms. It was quiet, very, very quiet. And it had no flight surfaces. It had no propellers, no wings. And if I had to guess, at the very minimum, this has to be 1,000 years ahead of current commercial technology. And that's current as of today.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
how long have you been in the military for? Are you still active or?
No, I actually got out right after this event. So I got out right at the end of 2004, early 2005, and then ever since then I honestly, there wasn't anything they could offer me to reenlist.
Okay, no worries. So so from your perspective, you wake up, you get an alarm, you respond to to adjust the.
Well, that's just it. There was no rush. We had been tracking it for a couple of days already, and we're going to continue to track it.
How come there's no panic? That's where I'm concerned about. When I listen to the video, it doesn't sound like he's alarmed. He's excited, which is great. But like, wouldn't that not be threatening if we didn't know what it was?
I'm sorry, I was reading Jeremy's comment. He's a we tend to go into each other's interviews and heckle each other.
Yeah, no worries.
But
Jeremy, you owe me an interview.
Yeah, he's with his daughter. They're at some type of event for his daughter right now, so he couldn't make it.
No worries.
But what was the question? I'm sorry, he threw me completely off.
Yeah, no, shit. Where was I going with that? So I was just saying, I actually lost my train of thought. That distracted me too.
Oh well, move on.
So yeah, so let's just move on. Your perspective. The alarming. So for me, from my perspective as an observer, seeing the video and hearing the reaction, I was just a little confused or concerned that if it was a threat, that reaction to me it was very friendly. So it would suggest to me that there was some information. It was comfortable. It was familiar. So why do you think they weren't panicking?
I thought of that. And, I can everything that I can say about this is speculation because I was low man on the totem pole. So I would have zero access to any person that could actually give you that answer.
Okay.
But the only thing I can give you is my professional opinion from being in the military. And I think the big thing is that no captain wants to be the captain that tracked UFOs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's generally one of those things, well, if we ignore it, maybe it'll go away and then we don't have to deal with it. Well, it got to the point where we were about to do flight operations in that same area where we had these things flying. And they were also coming and going. It wasn't just solid tracks for the entire time. I mean, there'd be periods of time where there was nothing flying.
Mm-hmm.
And then, all of a sudden they'd appear again. And then it'd be just a nice solid track doing about 100 knots from the channel going due south. So now that's a channel between Catalina Island and California.
Yeah.
And then flying down towards Baja, Mexico.
So the 3 clips that we have is of the same object?
No.
Okay.
The Google and the Go Fast are from different events.
Okay. And you weren't witness to those, only witness to the...
Just the tic-tacs, yep.
Just the tic-tac.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And the longer video that you mentioned, is that of the tic-tac or of the other ones? Okay.
Yeah.
So
now, there's also rumored that every single one of those planes had gun cameras that were actually rolling. So there's possibly dozens of videos. They will never probably see the light of day. So, I mean, I don't mind talking about that. So that's something that everybody needs to remember, that every single one of these airplanes that were in the air, there is a strong possibility every single one of them had film rolling.
Yeah. So from an investigative perspective, I mean, like if a crime happens in front of my house, the first thing I would do is I would go out and I would look to see what businesses nearby have cameras, and I would look and I want to collect evidence from every single camera that has it. So it's so that is an interesting point, that there must have been more footage. So I can understand that all of it some of it's been withheld, but some of it's been released. So if there's a 20-minute video, is it 20 minutes? That's what I'm hearing. Like
it was about a 10-minute video, the one I saw.
Okay.
But
so a longer video
that could have even been clipped, because I didn't watch it live. So
why, if you're gonna release a video, why would they not just release the whole thing?
There's probably something on it that's still classified. And even that, is only a speculation. Most of the time they keep
something about the object or some other military.
Either something about the object, maybe something about the meta information on the actual film itself. It could have isolated a certain capability that we have that they can't let a foreign power know that we have. Mm-hmm. There's a half a dozen reasons why they would only isolate this. Plus, the film that was released was such poor quality that really, other than just being sensationalized and seeing general, I mean, the amazing thing about the film is you can tell in the FLIR that it's a universal heat signature. You can tell that it has no wings or propellers. You can tell that it doesn't have an obvious engine. So those things are amazing. But that's about it. That's about. Mm-hmm. You can also, there's one other detail that if you really study the picture, you'll also notice there's almost like a halo around the object. There's pixels that are weird around the object when you're looking at the FLIR, and that also denotes some type of field around the thing. So that's something that it took a while for me to really scrutinize that, to say that for sure that's there.
On that day, did you actually have eyes on it, or you're only looking through the machines and the measurements?
The eyes on it that I had was pretty insignificant, because it was at such a vast distance. Unless the thing moved in a weird way, I couldn't tell whether it was a ship's light on the horizon or whether it was an actual object, other than the fact that it was at the same bearing and relative elevation of where the object we were tracking was.
Okay. I have another question, but there's a question from one of our members. Chantel asks, when Gary Voorhis Jr., in your opinion, was the quality of the released video reduced by half intentionally?
No. That compressed video was emailed off the ship literally the next day. I can guarantee that video has been floating around the internet ever since the event, and either has just surfaced here and there. I've seen it on and off over the years, And obviously I could verify its authenticity, but without a chain of evidence like Lou and the guys that were with him actually got the Navy to admit, it was basically a useless video until it was actually authenticated.
Okay, so let's talk about the handling of the evidence. So from my understanding, that video is from a camera on the plane on the fighter jet.
It was a clip that was actually compressed and emailed to a lot of the senior staff. It was kind of one of those
for
things
observation for review.
Yep.
Okay, and then how does that get from that point? How does that happen to be a
somebody
leak?
had to have downloaded it and put it over to the non-secret side of our LAN and email it out standard on the regular email.
Now, how are they able to do that without the government knowing?
Well, I mean, we were using Windows ME at the time, I think. I mean, really wasn't really super difficult to circumstance, to get around that type of stuff. Proxies were kind of a joke to most people that knew just a little bit about computers.
So the security protection that we assume the government has doesn't actually exist. It's not as sophisticated as we would believe.
Other than the fact that you build Leavenworth if you get caught, so that's a pretty good deterrent.
So now that the video has been released, there's no metadata to trace it back to track to the original person who leaked it.
That's correct, because it would have been wiped. Every copy I've ever got my hands on has never had any of the original metadata.
Okay. So I mean, in terms of like how often does that happen?
Lou and those guys may have gotten the original copy and it had metadata, but I personally never seen it.
No, I understand as well. So like that's interesting for me as an investigator. I like to understand the source because I know how the video file is transferred. So there must be metadata. If someone wiped it, then that's deliberate. But why would somebody wipe it? What would the intent be for that? To cover themselves, or
probably? I know I wouldn't want to go to jail for the rest of my life.
No, exactly. So observation of the video itself. You mentioned that it might have been a drone. So if it's not American, whose would it be?
Don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I couldn't even really speculate because we don't know what's going on within our own government. I mean, hell. Our own president doesn't really even know what's going on from day to day. So how can we expect us to know exactly what these things are? I'm not even really trying to make a joke, but it's just kind of funny that way.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. I'm just trying to take you back to that moment. Like, I'm trying to understand you as the soldier in that time of the event. So there wasn't any panic, there wasn't any concern. It was just a routine event. So if that's a routine thing, and if these things are seen, like, have you seen anything else like this that hasn't been released? Anything that's similar that you could compare to?
Yes, recently.
Okay, all right, let's talk about that.
I can't yet, but I have seen an object that was very similar to this, and it was located in a much different place in the United States. And what I can say is that it was filmed. You will get to see it. Unfortunately, fortunately and unfortunately, it was a mainstream media outlet that did record it. But it should, for how amazing it was, it should make mainstream. It should make the air. But if not, after the episode airs, I'll be able to talk all about it. So, but it. Very, very, very similar. I got the same feel. I get the same intuition about it, that it was more of a form versus function. It had no windows, no flight controls, no nothing. It almost felt like an unmanned reconnaissance vehicle.
Okay. So still,
whether it's still from here or not, it still felt like it was unmanned.
We can't speculate to where the origin is until we capture it. So if it's not considered a threat, then the Army's not responding. You guys didn't fire any weapons at it, right? You guys just
we didn't have any weapons on board at the time.
Okay. If you had weapons on board, would you have fired at it?
Not a clue. It's all the chain of command, man. You know that.
Yeah. No, I get it. And so that's why
Basically, the grunts like me or low-level guys like me, we follow the feeling that we get from our chain of command. So
I
when
totally
they don't
get
take,
it. And the chain of command controls these things and they run things, but we're still human beings. That's why I'm trying. That's why I'm asking these questions, try to understand the human element behind it. Because if you weren't panicked, if they weren't panicked, if Fravor wasn't panicked when he locked onto it, you know, it evidently whatever it wasn't threatening. So if it is a UF, go ahead.
The only time I ever had a really strong emotional response is seeing the video for the first time. The first time, because prior to that, it's just, you know, a track. It's just something on the horizon. It's not a physical object that I can make a emotional contact with exactly what I'm seeing. And then when I saw the video for the first time, your brain kind of goes numb, kind of like when you see a really bad car accident or train wreck TV or something that's really just, you can't wrap your mind around, like, no, this isn't happening. This isn't what I think it is it? You know, and then, you know, you're looking around seeing if everybody else is seeing what you're seeing, and everybody's like, looks the same way you do. And it really wasn't until the second time through watching it before I really kind of got out of that shock and, okay, so this is reality now, roger that. And then I started actually looking at the video.
On the day of the event, while that all happened, you could barely see with your eyes, but you looked at the machines. So what did you see on the machines? What did you see on the instruments?
Well, on the radar returns, you basically you see an object, and it has a label on it, and it's basically labeled and it has a certain nomenclature that says that it's an unknown object, you know. And then you can also see whether or not it has any general emissions. You're not going to see any of the the emissions like the EWs are looking for and things like that, electronic emissions, you know, like the electronic warfare guys are looking for. But like there should be a transponder, a beacon. It should be squawking identification, friend or foe. You know, it should be doing a lot of things that these things aren't doing. And if it was just one object, well, you could kind of chalk that up to maybe there was a hang glider. Actually, a hang glider would be, although we could track that, it would be filtered out. We would know it was there, and we would mark it as such, and it would be very obvious of what the thing was. Its profile, its radar profile, its return, everything like that would come back as a hang glider.
Yeah, because you got to rule out known objects as well too, so that way you're not wasting your time looking at things that are normal, like birds and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes sense. So, yeah, it's just the thing that surprised me with this whole thing, as an observer myself, looking at this, like the reaction is just, I expected it to be huge. So that's why
everybody, that's the shit. Everybody was running around the ship going, oh my God, UFOs, you know, but really it's
right, but
you know,
that kind of leads more to the possibility of this being a machine, a drone created by the government. So why would your own government, even Canada, maybe it's Canadians made it, who knows, we'll take credit for it, sure. But like, you know, someone has to know what it is.
Why would they fly it against their own people?
Yeah, why would it be there in the first place?
Why would they give untested vaccines to soldiers? Why would they test LSD on the public? Why would they literally purposely kill certain people you know? Why would they do all the horrible things that they've done to their people already?
So it's testing and experimenting and all these other stuff.
I have no doubt that if they wanted to test an experimental system that they acquired technology through some other means, whether they mine this thing up out of the Arctic or they or a thing crashed in the desert.
I totally love how you just went to there. So that we're just going to go into another rabbit hole there too. So if it is tested, right? If it's extraterrestrial and they have control and they're benevolent, like they'll just show up and they'll do it on their own. But if it was designed purposely to test everybody on that vessel, and that's how you reacted, then it's put out to the public to see how we react to it, and all these other things. Now we're here. If that was the test, what is the end game? What do you think is the reason to test us for that?
A narrative, another set of controls. Give everybody a little bit of truth, and then hide behind it. You know, I mean, best way to control things is to continuously go with the flow of society. Society wants UFOs, give it to them.
Yeah, and so we admitted to it. It's out there. Pentagon is now using UAP. They've come disclosed with what they've been doing. Now in 2022, they're going to have a specific department dedicated to the research of that. Like it's a cover up for the cover up, as far as I'm
Well,
concerned.
plus, I mean, if we're worrying about UFOs, we're not worrying about hyperinflation. We're not worrying about piss poor management of our government. You know, we're not worried about worldwide wars. We're not worried about people dying in Afghanistan. We're not worried about the fact that we have civilians that were left in a foreign country that's hostile to Americans. You know, we're not looking at those real subjects that need to be addressed if we're looking at these non-hostile entities that are flying
So
around.
are you
our
suggesting
airspace.
that this is part of a distraction?
I think it always has been. I think that, yes, there is absolutely a phenomenon going on. There's absolutely a 1,000-year ahead of us technology flying around, but I think they've already come to the conclusion they can't do a damn thing about it. So let's go ahead and use it.
So if they can't do a damn thing about it, then why doesn't that damn thing reveal itself to us at its own will and accord?
I don't know. Why don't we tell rats exactly who we are?
Yeah, true. Right. So we might not be
there's
important.
a lot of horrible answers and there's a lot of
No, I
magnanimous
get it.
answers.
And it could be just our ego to
Yeah.
think that we are so important enough that we're actually important to these beings.
Plus, if you own a ranch with 1,000 head of livestock, you going to go around and introduce yourself to all the livestock?
No. So,
Are they even going to understand what you say?
Yeah.
They could literally be on such a level of evolutionary level that we couldn't possibly begin to understand anything that they tell us. Never mind just telling us who they are or introducing themselves. And honestly, they may be scared to try to introduce themselves to us because there's at least 30% of us that would shoot them first. Not saying I'd shoot them, but unless they were hostile towards me. But you rip me out of my house and you experiment on me, I'm going to be pretty fucking hostile.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. So then we get into the abduction phenomenon and all that other stuff too. Do you like? Does this craft at all associate with any? Is it capable of abducting people?
Not a clue. I mean, that's a lot of the reasons. These are a lot of the questions why me and Kevin Day formed UAPX. We had a lot of questions and no answers, and we were getting zero from FOIAs. We were getting zero from the government. So we formed that company just to go get those answers. So
So let's talk about that. So the three of you, where did the idea come from? Just like again, you just mentioned it, but then you guys were like, "This is serious. We really have to do it." So like, what pushed you?
All Kevin Day. Kevin Day called me up and said, "Hey, you want to start a company and go find answers?" And that was literally the beginning of UAPX. That one statement. And I said, "Yeah, sure, whatever, man, cool." And then I had nothing to do with the company for the next year.
Why?
I was busy. I worked a full-time job and I have a family. So, and honestly, from what they were telling me, they had everything handled. And then through some personal issues Kevin was having and some things that were going on medically with Kevin, he stepped down for president. So then at that point, I kind of started assessing what was going on and realizing there was a real need to try to get the ball rolling into a direction where we went from planning to an actual action, So that's what we did.
So, all right. So UAP is X is UAP Expedition. So explain to us in your own. Yeah, go ahead.
UAP
so there's a little bit of lag.
Company. Yeah.
Okay. So that company was formed. What exactly does that company do? If I wanted to hire you, what would you do for me?
Well, we currently we're in a transition of re-equipping ourselves with instrumentation, but we are looking to be able to basically drive to location. If you want to do a specific location, be able to drive to that location with 2 vehicles at the minimum, and then be able to deploy sensors throughout as far as we can within miles of that target to try to triangulate any information that we may get. And then we're going to use FLIR data. We're going to use Well, we're going to use a multitude of sensors. I can't go into all of them due to NDA right now, but basically we will use a collection of sensors to be able to sweep and monitor an area for however long you want to pay for. And we would itemize the cost for you at that point. And then, the data itself, if you wanted to work with us, we've learned lessons with our current projects. In the future, anybody we work with is going to have to be able to release that data about as soon as my scientists are ready to go and to release it, out the door it needs to go.
Yeah. So that's the mandate. So you get hired to provide. So you're being paid to provide the service. You're being paid. So the consumer is paying for the time.
Well, we're a nonprofit and we're an individual organization. Eventually, our goal is to be privately funded permanently, so we don't have to deal with Hollywood or anything, and actually provide a two-part system where we have actual hardwired systems similar to like SkyHub and UFO.W.A.S.P. And that's consistently getting us data 24 hours a day in certain hot spots. And I'm already talking to certain people that live in certain hot spots to try to get these systems deployed in those places. And then we're also going to have a mobile deployable system where we can do, we can go down to somewhere after we know exactly where to point all our cameras, try to get some very consistent correlating data, try to figure out exactly what's going on, and then from there keep moving forward. So hopefully eventually we can understand, we know exactly where these things are coming from, where they're going, start to denote flight patterns, start to denote, because until we have 24-hour surveillance on this stuff and 24-hour, basically being able, a lot of this metadata is just going to be garbage, but we're looking for when they appear, how fast are they going? Are we able to even track them if they're ripping across the sky? And then develop better and better equipment to narrow it down. So think of it now as we're hunting with a shotgun, and we're trying to work our way down to hunting with a sniper rifle.
So I'm thinking in terms of response time though. Like, so somebody is aware of you, somebody sees something, they call you. You wake up.
Unfortunately, I think that eventually
how fast can you do that?
I think eventually we would be able to have at least a set of boots on the ground within 24 hours once we do have both our vehicles up and running and equipped. Now, and that's about the best as I can guarantee, just because of flights, or if it's local drive time, if we can't find flights within a reasonable amount of time, but we need to actually drive the vehicle to location, well, then it's just going to take time.
Yeah, it's just because it's just difficult, right? Because we don't know, there's a lot of time in between, and then you got to get there. The intent, I'm seeing the intent, I'm seeing the technology, I'm seeing the not just the passion, but the intelligence and the science behind it. But to get to all of these places, like in that moment, before that object disappears, that's difficult.
That's primarily what the standalone systems are going to be for, because they're going to, we're going to be kind of stuck, unless something local happens. Like, I'm not a real big fan of CE5, but these guys really seriously think that they can do this stuff. So I've actually started going to a local group that's pretty legit. That's a nobody over there is preaching any particular person as a savior or anything like that. They're just a bunch of folks doing actual the Princeton method of CE5. So if there's something to it, hopefully within the next couple of months I'll actually have some answers and be able to promote it, or say nothing happened while I was around, and that's basically what I figure is going to happen. There's too much woo in this, and I'm into it for the non-woo. There's plenty of people looking at the woo, so they can keep the
woo. Can be woo.
I'm going to bring you the nuts and bolts.
Yeah, we want to study it. We want to measure it. So I understand that too.
Yeah. And we may get to a point where we have to deal with the woo, but right now we know for a fact there's physical objects to study, and that's where that's where we're starting.
So have you ever done any situations where like the CE5, that method that was being done while the vehicles were present? Is that something you've done or something you would consider doing?
Um,
Because that might help you
the
get the
yeah,
evidence instantly.
yeah. The only thing that I've actually done is I attended the CE5 here locally from where I live, and like I said, I had to scout it out first. I don't know who these people are. I don't know. I didn't know what their deal was. I could get in there, and it could have been a damn cult for all I knew. I mean, there seems to be a lot of that in that movement. So, um, but there is planning to have some filming done and try to further move in a technical direction. Due to a recent loss of equipment, I'm not going to be able to do a full sweep of that area until I can replace that equipment. But we're still going to do visual. There's actually some people there that already have FLIR and using FLIR, so I can basically point things in the right directions for them. And if there is something that comes up, I'll be the first one to tell everybody. This is a non-NDA study. This is mostly just visual for now, but if there's something to it, I can at least say yay or nay. I mean, they've got a lot of compelling images. I'm not a big fan of the pictures that happened when I wasn't there, because I can show you a picture of anything and tell you where I was right here in the backyard, and this is a picture of, see, that's that tree, and I'm like, yeah, a couple of branches and going to tell me exactly what tree that was shot over the top of. So
Well, the problem, that's where the Experience Support Association could assist in some things like that too, because we are building an academy where we're trying to teach people how to get better evidence. From our perspective, there's a lot of people trying to solve these answers, but there's a lot of people that have that intent and that passion, but they don't know how, don't know a damn thing about what they're doing. So
well,
we teach them.
if you're going to do it, use good equipment.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it seriously, I mean, if you're just a hobbyist and you just enjoy seeing this stuff, by all means, you got my blessing to keep doing what you're doing. But somebody like me will never take a random picture serious. We will enjoy it just like everybody else. We'll take a look at it, like the duck that everybody's just freaking out about. That thing looks like a freaking. It looks like a. I think they figured out it was going like 15 miles an hour. I mean, that's most likely a drone with a drug carrying a drug payload over the border.
Yeah, it looked odd to me. It didn't look weird.
Yeah, it looked like a small drone with a payload, and that's literally what it looked like to me. What it actually is, unless we get amplifying information, I don't have any idea.
But even if you were able to figure out what it is, alien or not alien, you can confirm. Do you think anyone would believe? Like, how do we get that on mainstream?
We get it on from mainstream with companies like myself, and studies like with Avi. His project he just started with Harvard. I'm one of the associates on that, and he's reached out to a lot of the professionals in this field. So he's definitely collecting a lot of information, but his study is going to be built from the ground up, starting from nothing and working its way up, so that all of his data is just pure scientific data with the best possible devices money can buy. That's where we start. That validates the science. And then from there, companies like me going out that may not have the money for, to build a $200,000 rig. Well, we can still do good science and still contribute to that narrative.
Right. So there's two factors there too. So there's the money element. So there's the intent. Everybody wants to do it, and some of us are hindered because we can't afford it. There are hobbyists that do it because they love it. They want to know what's happened to them. Sometimes they're experiencers too, and I get that. And they want to raise money so they can get better equipment and things like that too. But does the equipment that you need to get the answers exist?
Yes.
And is it only the issue of money, or do we have to create something new?
Well, for us, we have some organizational hurdles, and then once we have those organizational hurdles taken care of, the funding will come. I'm not worried about the funding. I'm not even worried about any losses or anything that happens in the company. I'm not worried about, because I'm not stopping. I've literally told everybody on my team that this is forever. You can come and go as long as you can come and go in a positive manner. You get a job at NASA and you need to go and you don't have time for this. Sure, go, no problem. Come back anytime you want. You have lack of faith and you drop us because of some bullshit. Well, I don't have room for you.
Well, that's just business. That's just management, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Too.
But this doesn't ever stop. This is never going to stop.
That's you. That's your drive. That's your mission. That's your goal. Yeah. So I'll thank you for your service. Not only in the phenomenon, but also for military service as well. So
now that being said, also I'm going to be reaching out to other people in the communities. If you're serious about doing actual research, you need to learn, like yourself. You're teaching people how to get good data. I hope they know that they need to make sure that their film can be, that there's something in the backdrop, not just a sky. There has to be GPS locations of where they were at the time when they took the picture. That's where you're standing, not where it is. And then we can actually shoot an azimuth if you have a good picture.
Exactly. And that's where we can work together, because we want to show them, because the intent, the effort, everybody knows that they can put it on the internet. But when we get to it, us are analyzing it. That's the problem. It's not, we can't use it. So we're all putting that effort in, and we want better data.
Now, I see a lot of people talking about, we need the woo and the science. And to be dead honest with you, the science will eventually run into the woo. You're absolutely right. But we don't need the woo right now. We have plenty of people doing CE5. We have plenty of people doing consciousness research. We have plenty of people running down those paths. That's just not our path. All of us have a strong interest in that on the side. None of us are particularly worried about the woo at all. Because like I said, the woo is going to be the woo regardless of whatever we do. But if we can at least prove some of the hard nut facts first, it may dispel a little bit of the woo and bring us to the next set of woo. At one time, the world being round was woo, So,
and there's still people that argue that it's not.
Sorry, that's a rough one. I'm not even going to bother to explain that one to anybody. But people around the world all agree that it's a globe. Apparently, we're not the only just flat disk in the universe.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So okay, so the intent is there, the mission is there, the drive is there. We need the help. We need to teach all these people all these things. You need money in order to do what you're doing. So currently, at the level that you're at right now, what have you done? What are you doing now?
You got about, let's see, what's the date today? It's the it's October.
14th.
You got until about March before I can really start talking to you about that.
Okay.
There's a movie coming out called A Tear in the Sky.
Okay.
I don't know whether I'm going to advocate it yet, but when I actually see the working version of it before it launches and they start doing some more media for it, I can actually tell you more. But once that movie is public and it's in the public domain and you get it on whatever the platform they decide to launch it on, then I can actually speak to you about that specific subject.
When you say movie, to me that word means entertainment. Like, is it a documentary?
I hope it's a documentary.
Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to pause right here. But we will be back after we get a message from our professional partners. Just let me just get my thing all set up. We're just going to go to commercial break here.
I did.
Also, if you're listening to this live on KPNL Radio or on a future podcast, head over to youtube.com/the Experiencer Support Association to see the video that goes with this audio. Remember, you're listening to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, a podcast with the Experiencer Support Association, and we'll be back in about 5 minutes.
Ryan is one of Canada's leading new UFO investigators. He conducts and oversees UFO investigations on a constant basis and was really taken by his research. He's compiled a tremendous amount of data regarding UFOs in Canada. And just as interesting, he really goes over how UFO investigations are done and what are some of the mistakes that people make when they submit evidence. Note for starters, don't edit your videos or photos before you send them. If you want to hear more follow-up conversation between Ryan and myself, you can go to richardolanmembers.com, where we have a candid conversation on ufology, the paranormal, and more. And remember, while we learn and grow and search for the truth, let's be good to each other.
The same thing that draws aliens to our planet is the same thing that draws us to others. Exploration, curiosity, sustainability of life. That's why we go. It would make sense as to why they're visiting here.
Travis! Quit playing around, man. Get back here. Travis!
The last thing I remember was this numbing shock. Stunning sort of a feeling. Very powerful.
Get away from me!
I was just out of my mind with fear, just screaming the whole time.
It's been theorized that aliens prefer remote areas because they don't want to attract attention. Whatever it is that they're doing, they would want to do that in a less populated area. There are multiple accounts of the same thing from people from all over the world. People that do not know each other, do not live in the same cultures, and they're all looking up, they're all seeing things in the sky. So it would be naive of us to think that we're alone in the universe.
My mission is to assist and help those experiencing this phenomenon in such a way that they're able to continue and live with it, and also in a way that it can be measured, quantified, and reinforced within today's society, so that way it can be accepted and no longer viewed in a negative way. One thing that I do value in people is the ability to sense and feel when something is right and when something is wrong. That is a natural ability that we all share. Now, when we combine that with the paranormal and ufological abductions or visits, I have this sensation that these abilities are connected. Not everyone can sense, not everyone can feel. However, those who can are typically connected with something that we cannot explain. And part of my research is not just to investigate the experience, but it's also to understand and study the experiencer to find out what they have in common with other experiencers, to try to figure out what the actual makeup is in order to be on that spectrum. There's a lot of it happening all over the world, and I do not know of any other study that is focusing on the individuals as people, only the phenomenon. Welcome back. You are still listening to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. If you're enjoying this episode so far, consider becoming a member of our channel or send us a super chat. Your membership will get you bonus content like exclusive videos, and it will help us reach our goal of launching our training center, Interstellar, the Academy of Ufology and Paranormal Studies. So far, we're looking good to launch that in 2022. Also, if you have ever experienced an unexplained event involving the paranormal, UFOs, extraterrestrials, dogman, or any other paracryptid, head over to testacan.org/reporting system. The more reports we get, the more we will understand the phenomenon and how it affects our people. But the others who have already reported be that example that proves that we are making a difference. If it wasn't for these reports, we would not be able to do what we do, and for that, we thank you. So I am still here with Gary Voorhis. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. You?
I'm doing good. This is good conversation. It's technical, but it's good. I like it. So
I thought I was kind of keeping it non-technical, but
the audience is engaging. We're listening to this too, and like I said, I do this off the cuff. I wear many hats. There's that investigator part. There's that side. There's the experiencer part. I'm curious to know, like on the business side of things, are you if something happened here in Canada, are you guys able to deploy here in Canada? Do you guys have suppliers here or in other countries, or is it
we
just
would
the
have
United States?
we would just have to come up there as long as we can actually enter the country. We can go there. We don't have an issue going outside the country, other than if us individually can leave the country.
But that would cost more because the further you would have to go, right? So
but you're kind of looking at it as people pay us to come out. We're actually just a nonprofit. We go do what we want to do.
Right.
We're engaging in our own studies. So if it is something that we look like we should go, like we're unfortunately like fortunately for our model is going to have to be based off of hotspots, places that we can consider places like
what would determine a hotspot as far as your criteria goes?
When you have the empirical evidence stack up so high that there's definitely something going on in that area, then I would say that that's a hotspot. Now, empirical evidence could be credible witnesses. It could be, because that for me, that's where the witnesses come in. That's where the personal testimony comes in. When you have 3 people saying they saw something in an area where nobody's ever seen anything, well, not that big of a deal, not in the big scheme of things. But when you have thousands of people over hundreds of years seeing things in a place, that's a hot spot. That's somewhere, like there's tons of places down in South America where you have thousands of accounts of crashed UFOs, of actual, nightly sightings, Catalina Island. I mean, that place is, as long as there's been people, there's been, UFO encounters there. That's the type of places that I'm talking about. Literally, you go out to the desert and there's literally pictures of where they have discs painted on rocks. I mean, that's pretty significant spots. Now, I'm not real familiar with a lot of places up in Canada, but I'm guessing that's what this map is.
Well, I was just kind of leading into we're tracking what we consider to be hotspots. So I just want to kind of make this acknowledge to you and as well as the listeners that this is available on our website. So as we investigate the phenomenon ourselves, we take in civilian reports, we filter the woo and all that other stuff, but sometimes we're left with things that we can't explain. So we're in the middle of releasing our 2020 report, which is I think 60 some odd other cases that we've done. But this, once we get something that we can't explain, we have different levels of evidence, right? So there's sometimes drawings are considered useful evidence. So, but we're starting to create like some hot spots as well to understand where these cases are after we've investigated them. So this is what we're putting our resources towards. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it will meet the criteria of you or somebody else, but it's still a tool that's available to any resource to see that's trending. The other thing that we're doing that would be probably more acceptable for anyone's standard is, as I'm actively looking for declassified documents. I'm getting Canada to release information on UFOs. And as we get those documents, I'm also pinpointing them on the map where the event took place. So we're also keeping track of that information. So that I just want to kind of bring that up since that was there to let you know that.
I definitely thank guys like you that are doing this type of work, because I'll be honest with you, I already got my plate full just researching current stuff. So
yeah, so the way it would work with us, what we're looking for is experts like yourself are out there in the field, but at the end of the year, you have these ones that we just are interested in, the ones that you can't explain. And then if they've been vetted and we look at it and we verify that it meets all that criteria, then we put it on the map. We're trying to create a universal map where everybody contributes to, so that way we all have data that we all can measure. because you're doing the same thing as what we're doing. You have different criteria, you have different standards, you have a different business model, but we still want the answers.
Yeah.
And this model allows individuals like yourself to do what you do without anyone else controlling it. It's just all we need at the end of the year is to pull it to
we
a database.
definitely need to have more people like yourself, more, that's why it's like I was just talking with some people that are quite possibly starting up another team similar to our business model. And, I gave them everything that we did wrong. I told them what we did right. I'm not holding back any secrets about, what you need to do and how you need to do it, at least if you want a similar model to what we're doing. But you got me interested. So, I got some questions for you, if you don't mind.
Okay, I'll answer them in 1 second because you just made me think of something too. So the
Okay.
importance of plotting this data as an example, and I always use this here in Manitoba. And I'm sure you might appreciate this. This particular case is a civilian case. It's a drawing, and it's of an orange orb. Okay, so a civilian. Some people will be like, you know what? I'm not military. I might be a stay-at-home parent raising my kids and blah blah blah. They might not feel credible, but they saw this, so they drew it, and it looks like this on its own. That might just be woo. But the interesting thing is up here in Moose Jaw, these two documents from 1967, which are several years before that, describe an orange orb that looks similar to what this witness had drawn many years later, but it's within close proximity. So as we pool all this data together on credible, investigated, vetted cases, not just like MUFON has done, where they put everything on there, even if it's identified.
I'm not a big fan of MUFON, by the way.
Well, that's okay. Neither am I. They kicked me out. But
that was saying that there are some good people that have been trained and work in that organization, but organization that you can just pay for a certification and not necessarily even learn a proper technique.
Which is why we're also doing the academy. And then my role with the academy is to teach people as a licensed investigator how to investigate anything. And if you apply that to the phenomenon, then that's okay. And then we would need experts like yourself to specialize in a specific field, engineering and things like that. But they still need to learn how to investigate and that triangulate and corroboration, all those elements to find a lead. Because I look for missing people for a living. I know how to find things.
Well, if I go missing, make sure you help my wife.
Yeah, no worries. So what are your questions for me? Go ahead.
All right. So, you got me interested in what you're doing. So let's start with, I'm a UFO witness. I call you.
Yeah.
Walk me through your procedure. You don't have to go into detail, but a general walkthrough.
Yeah, on our website, you just go to the website, you fill out the report. So the way that the report is designed for me as an investigator is it's kind of helps the individual as the experiencer to possibly figure it out themselves. So if they get to the end of the report, they might know what it is and might not submit it. But if they get to the end and they still don't know what it is, then they submit it. When they submit it, I get a copy of that. I send them a copy of that. They have a copy. It's a journal, but it's specific. They tell me what they want with it. They might want support because they might feel traumatized because there's that abduction phenomenon. They might, so we would refer them to.
What you're saying is not everybody that is abducted is happy about it.
Yeah. No, I don't think anyone is happy about it. Yeah. So, but we acknowledge the stress and the PTSD and the anxiety around it. So we want to cater to the experiencer, which is why it's the Experiencer Support Association. While they're being taken care of and they're feeling comfortable with expressing, because that's part of it too. A lot of people keep this in. We want them to be comfortable. We want them to, for those who don't want to be involved with the science experiment, we still want to help them. But those who do, then they understand that might be a level. So once we get that data, all that data gets charted. I don't know if I have an example here. It gets put into a data set in which I measure the characteristics of the event. So we currently, with the Experiencer Support Association, we measure UFO, U.A.V, paranormal, everything. But I've created a classification system that we call the Ultra Spectrum Classification System, which is an enhanced version of the Hynek and Vallée classification scale, which includes UFO as well as everything else, psychogenic, paranormal activity, and all that other stuff. Because when the experiencer reports a sighting, we're unable, maybe perhaps the evidence we're unable to get may have been a visual or a sensory display. It may have come in their mind. So we're accepting that evidence as circumstantial evidence or analogical evidence when they draw it. But every once in a while, we'll get a picture that matches what they drew, and then we know through our science that they don't know each other. So once we dated it, we do surveys, we put reports out annually, 2 reports a year, one strictly on UFOs, which is and one on everything else. And then with that, if you had cases that you had submitted that we would, not saying the whole idea of adding it to an association is to have it reinforced that, like, hey, we don't know what it is, and this group doesn't know what it is, and this other group doesn't know what it is, so therefore it must be an unknown. And then we put out a report together, and then everybody can look at this citizen science kind of report. As you mentioned before, you don't have the credentials and things like that to do that stuff. Neither do I, but we can still do citizen science if we understand the scientific theory. So we have all those tools and elements to export all that. And then once we have the data, like you're saying, I'm looking for hotspots. Once I find a hotspot, I take that data, I go to that location, and I do further testing. But in my philosophy, my study particularly, UFO is part of it. The abduction and the contactee and that other part is also part of it, but I think it's somehow connected, and what connects us is the experiencer, the person themselves. What what we were talking about earlier was a physical nuts and bolt object, which can be measured by the scientists, but there still are a lot of people that see things that can't be explained and they can't capture it, but it's still credible if it's stacked. And that's where the private investigating skills come in place too. I'm building the case, and when I build that case, I can guarantee that through the cases I've vetted out, that there are people drawing or describing similar things and they don't know each other. And to me, that's strange. So that's kind of the nutshell of how that all goes out.
The one question I have is, when you're vetting these, I mean, how detailed are you getting into these people's personal life? Are you looking for, I mean, not to be, just I'm going to play a little devil's advocate with how deep you're getting into it. Are you vetting them for any known mental illness? Are you vetting them for any type of? So
mental illness is always a possibility, especially when we're looking into the psychogenic. It's not always a hindering. We like to find out if it's acknowledged, because if you have
if they're depressed, I'm not worried about it. But if they've had if they have paranoid schizophrenia, well, that kind of throws them off the table.
Well, it does as an individual, but if they draw something, for an example, and it looks like something, and then somebody else draws it, and I vet them, and I know that this person has divulged that they have paranoia, schizophrenia, I can make a marker and say, like, okay, there might be a mental illness here. To them, it doesn't. They don't want to hear that. They still want that support, so we provide that. But on our science side, we keep that marked. But then all of a sudden I get another piece of evidence of something that's similar from someone we've also vetted in the same way, and it's determined they don't have a mental illness. Then we start to look at that. Maybe it's not the mental illness.
If it can be verified by a second and even third person, then absolutely.
Right? On its own, it's really hard, but that's why we stack. That's the important thing. So we do vet, we do consider that, we do rule it out, we do encourage them to rule all these things out too. And it really depends.
Now, do most of these people agree to a full background check?
Yeah, if it's necessary. It depends on the case, right? Like we don't need to go that far, depending, because if they have evidence,
I think, like, for me personally, like when I'm dealing with people, I have to speak with them directly, obviously. But then, when I deal with somebody coming into the company, I try to, now that I actually have a little bit of money to play with, I want to personally vet them. I want to do a full background check on them, and then I want to actually kind of see how they've dealt with things in the past, because, say they got a criminal history of petty larceny. That tends to be a person that's kind of selfish and would do something for money. That's
still speculation, though. It's still an assumption. I get where you're going with that, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're not experiencing something in that moment.
Now, if they experience something and they have a lot of correlative data, like say the FAA actually tracked something that night, and that's the other thing. Are you going? You getting the local airports or Doppler radar from local.
I do freedom of
weather
information requests whenever there's something. I have been fortunate enough to get responses from the Canadian government when I do freedom of information requests, but I have to have the specifics, so that has to come from the experiencer themselves as well. So that's also where the academy comes in, because majority of the time these people don't know how to do it. They've just made the effort to report, and that's what we encourage, because we want them to come forward.
And just remember, I'm not trying to bust your balls. I'm just trying to, I just want to get a feel for like how in depth you go into these investigations of these people. Because I'm all for it. I want every single one of these cases that come forward. I want it to, as soon as possible. I mean, if anything, the next day, be able to have somebody on the ground checking local law enforcement. And checking local, canvassing local areas, I mean, I know that stuff costs money, but that's the only way we're going to be able to truly vet these cases with any clarity.
And it needs to be done. So we have the resources to do that. Again, because we measure all phenomenons, it really depends on what is happening. The abduction phenomenon is really hard to do that. We rule out mental illness if we can.
Man, I wish I had somebody like you in my neighborhood. Because honestly, Florida's starting to become a hot spot, and apparently it always has been. But like, there's areas like Bakersfield, like over by the Space Coast, down in the Keys and things like that, and especially along the coast bordering the Gulf. There seems to be a lot of reports all along our West Coast. You just
got to get people to report. And then the thing is too, is we can make referrals to experts as well to get a second opinion on our work as well, if we had a professional relationship in that sense too. So like the physical location, that's the hard part too. Is not a single person can't travel the entire world and then all the time. Yeah. This is why we need to have people in areas. I may not be able to be there, but if I possess a certain amount of skills, and like you possess a certain amount of skills that we could use virtually for now, and then when we need to meet, we need to meet, because we have resources too that we could deploy, but we wouldn't deploy those unless the data supported it as well.
Yeah,
so that's the point of the association.
Like even for us, like say we were going to go, say somebody came to us, like we had a situation where a private party wanted us to do an investigation on somewhere, and then it sounded great to begin with, and then as we dug deeper, there was just hole after hole after hole of just garbage. So we were just like, sorry, we're just not going to associate with that right now.
When you have to spend money, that criteria is very, very important. Yeah. When we get to that point is after we filtered all the data. So for the ultra spectrum report that I have 134 cases, and out of that, I think there's only 22% of that I consider usable data. So the remaining number, that high number, is wasted effort. Uneducated people try, like in terms of evidence, like not knowing how to properly deliver, but all of them are equally valued because they try.
Pictures and a testimony, right?
So we teach them and we coach them and we guide them. They still learn from us. And then we hope that when they report again, that it's going to be better. So as we continue to move forward, people present better evidence, because all these people are willing to do it, and they need people like us to give them answers. But we also need them to get better evidence. And that's what we focus on, is to teach the people that are trying, that are doing good, and just make them better, because they're out there. We have thousands and thousands of people willing to submit evidence. But once we teach them what a light refraction is,
Yeah, I get people completely upset with me on a number of times when, I basically simply state that, the picture you submitted to me, it's cool, but it doesn't help me in any way, shape, or form, and it's cool that you're being visited and, things are being downloaded into your head, but you got to prove it to me.
See, that's just not your area of expertise. Yeah. So that's where the idea of the association comes in place too, is where the report comes into us, and then we're like, okay, this is specific to this particular criteria. So therefore we would enact, or we would bother certain types of people that excel in this type of phenomenon to get that opinion. We wouldn't bother a paranormal person for a UFO encounter. So that's why we need ACEs in places. My role in this is just to make sure that the evidence that is submitted is the best possible.
Yeah.
Right. I prep everything as if I'm going to court. And if I'm not willing to testify with that, then it's not good enough for me. But you would interpret it. I would pass that off to you as an expert, and you would interpret that as whether that belongs to that UFO UAP community or something else. And then I pass that off to another person who believes it might be paranormal. And then we get somewhere in the middle because we're trying to understand. We can prove that it existed, but then we need that team of experts who understand all of these elements to weigh in on it, to decide, you know, where it falls in what we call the ultra spectrum. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes, and I'm glad that somebody actually is doing this type of work. And
Thanks.
you know, this is what MUFON actually started off to try to do. And unfortunately, just I hope that as you grow as an organization, that you don't fall prey to those same things that they did.
So I was with MUFON. I was chief investigator MUFON Canada. I was national director of training. I was responsible for teaching all the field investigators. When I did that, that's when I learned that MUFON was a business. So they had no interest in teaching these people anything anymore because they were making money off of it. So I agree with you. At the beginning, when the infancy, when it was created.
We'll just say there's a lot of people in this field that when they first started, they did some outstanding work. And then once the money started to actually roll in,
because they became dependent on it. They got dependent on it. It becomes a source of income, and then it becomes a career, and then they get old, and all those other things get taken in consideration.
Now, don't get me wrong. I would love to grow my organization to the point where I could pay myself to do what I love.
Well, that's you got to pay the bills. You got your tax sacrificing, taking time away from the family, and things like that.
We'll just say I'm not going to be taking a $500,000 check for being the president of this organization.
So
I'm like, can we squeeze my mortgage out this month? You know, I mean,
this is a struggle that everybody has, and the idea of everyone doing their little bit in their little areas, and then spending their their resources in their areas, and then it being pooled together in one location. Everybody saves money. Everybody,
and that's actually why I already have a handout for not even so much a handout, but like arms out to any other organizations that want to work with us seriously. You know, it's like you've already piqued my interest, so we're definitely going to have some private chats about your organization and things that would maybe be able to help.
We can help here in Canada, do whatever we need, and we just have to make sure criteria matches.
But now, it's not a serious question, but can I report somebody to you? Because I have a sneaking suspicion they might be an alien.
Well, I don't know how I can prove that, but if you go on to our website, I bet you not. If you go to the investigator portal, there's actually crime reporting.
Well, his name is Dave Scott.
Oh, Jesus, Dave Scott. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, he's toast. That guy needs to shave.
I love that dude. He's a good friend of mine. I love busting his chops.
Yeah, if he's listening, then bust his chops. He busts mine all the time. But we actually can, no joke. If you do suspect someone of misinformation, lying, and you have evidence, because Tessa is a private investigating firm, if you present evidence as if it was a federal offense or a crime, it will allow us to use those resources to investigate.
So where do I send the list to? We'll just say I've got a lot of speculation about a lot of major players in this field.
So let's have a conversation about the major player, and that would be Lou Elizondo.
Well,
so for context,
for context, I'm going to caveat that I do know him.
Okay.
We do speak on a regular basis, you know, especially when I've got questions, or he might even have a question for me. Not as often that way, but I just I take him for what it is. You know, I mean, he worked for the government. He's definitely written in on something. He's got a narrative. He seems to know more than we do. So what's going to hurt to at least see where he's leading us, you know? Because, I mean, so far, so good. I mean, he got classified videos released from the military and got them to admit that they were real. I mean, that's more than anybody's done in 75 years.
And that's the thing, is that the man himself has created the environment that led us to having this conversation. The speculation, the people, things like that.
That being said, we're just going to say that I don't get into anybody's camp. Jeremy, he's not on board with Lou, and he's very vocal about that. That's his own opinion. My own opinion is that I don't have a problem with him. But it doesn't cause any problems with our working relationship because it's just opinions, and that's what. I think everybody
Aces in
needs
places. Everybody does a little thing significant to it, and then, like you mentioned before, at one point, like, is Lou done, or is he done? He's retired. He's famous. He did his part. And now he can just go on and continue to share that story for many years, or is there more in the tank for Lou to release, or is he just,
I think what he does know. There's a lot of stuff that he's trying to prove as a civilian, and once he proves it as a civilian, then he can talk about the proof that he finds. But other than that, unfortunately, it sounds like my daughter is losing her mind. So I've got I hate to cut you off a little early, but I got about 15 more minutes tops.
Yeah, that's fine. We can end it early, and then I'll just talk to the guests, and that's absolutely okay.
I usually don't, but she's really losing her mind in there, and that's a lot for my wife to handle.
If you need to leave now, you can. I mean, we're live. I can't really edit this out. But
no worries, man. Everybody's gonna have to know that I love my kids and my family.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. So if you
want to talk to them for a second, can you give me maybe a 3-minute break here? Just to make sure that everything's good.
Go right ahead. So I'll wing it.
Just so everybody knows, I don't care who I'm talking to. It could have been the president of the United States. I still would get up and go check on my kids.
It's all good. You take care of that. So you guys listening in the comments, if you guys have any questions, let's spit those out and have a conversation. And sorry about that, until Gary is able to return. So what do we got here in the comments? So I'll just say hello to everybody. So we got Chantel. Hello, Chantel. Hello, Lisa. Hello, Priscilla. Hello, Jeremy. Hello, sir. You want to pop in and take the seat here? Hello, UFO man. How are you doing, buddy? Serena, nice to see you. What else we got going on? Torak, 1966. Good to see you. Thanks for joining in. Eric, nice to see you. Cognitive dissonance. Oops, we lost you. Yeah, I know you lost me, but I'm back. So, I mean, I guess we'll just talk about the whole thing. So my perspective on all this is good. Like, this is information. This is people. A lot of us in the phenomenon are working really hard to get these answers, and we all face these challenges. You're back? You're good?
No. Basically, I gotta go be daddy.
Okay.
So
all right.
I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you, and we're definitely going to speak again. In no way is this me running out on you. I just, the one thing about when I chose to leave the 9 to 5 and go to do this full time, I chose to be a father first over everything. So
I completely understand where you're coming from, and I appreciate you giving the time. And I'm very grateful for those who, that my wife as well, sacrifices to allow me to do this too. So I really, I understand where you're coming from. So thank you for being here.
We'll just say I owe you one, and definitely
it's all good.
You just tell me when you want the take two, and I'll come back on. And
you just send me a message when you have ideas, because you said there's some things we want to talk in private. So I'll leave it with you, and then we'll go from there.
Yep. All right. I'll talk to you later, bud. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
You too, bud.
Thanks. All right, guys. So I will leave it with that. And if you guys have any comments, we do have about a half hour left. So I guess we'll continue the podcast through conversation if you guys want to join around. So these are challenges that we all face in this industry. And I really appreciate the fact that there is a lot of people with intent, a lot of people sacrificing, a lot of people spending, a lot of people trying to find answers for experiencers. They're all helping experiencers in many, many, many ways. The philosophy that we've created with the Experiencer Support Association, that is our model, that is our association, that is what we want to do based on what we've experienced and what we see lack thereof. We're hoping that we are able to build that community where other people can work together. And because we all know that unity works, we all know that if we pool our data together, we could reach those answers ourselves. But the problem that we're facing is there's a lot of people in the industry that that want to prove it for themselves by themselves. They have this drive that they must do it alone. They don't want to work with other people. They've been scorned. They've been hurt. There's so many social issues that exist that could very well hinder. And we're hoping with time, we just, that we'll be able to build that community where not only our experiencers working together, but also experts, aces, and places in every area doing what they do best, so we can pool the data together and actually understand. Just as much as we're taking care of Canada, we still assist in the United States, we still assist in Europe, we still assist in other places of the world. Our focus is in Canada because that's where the business is. We have access to information as a Canadian citizen, so majority of us are pushing that Canadian narrative. But that doesn't mean we're not helping the other organizations. The United States is well informed about we all know as Canadians the UFO story in America, but we very rarely know that we have a UFO story ourselves. There's a lot of information that Canada has released that we're putting out, and our philosophy too is that if by putting that information out, so we not only do we learn Canada's history within the UFO movement, we'll also learn Canada's actual association with the United States. And perhaps the reason why we're not getting answers from USA is because Canada has it, or vice versa. There is some evidence that these countries also are working together, because UFO is a global concern. It is a global phenomenon, just as the governments are working together to perhaps cover it up, or to get the answers, or to do whatever it is. We have difference of opinions on this phenomenon. Why not create this environment where countries can work together on the citizen science side, where we can pool our data together and come up with those answers? And if the government comes forward and says, hey, aliens exist, and that trumps us, but at least we win. But in the meantime, why not work together and come up with these answers together? Why not share resources? Why not share data? Why not share expertise? And that's the point of creating of the association on the report evidence side. Our role is to teach the people how to give us better evidence. You as an experiencer know the phenomenon exists, whether we believe you or not. On the association side, his criteria may be a little bit harder because he's studying science. There's a need for that. We wouldn't necessarily activate him right away, but as the experiencer, we will give you other resources, and at the proper time, we'll give him the data that fits within his criteria to help him with his mission. And at the same time, we become a resource for because what I'm hearing is people call him and say, these things because they look up to him, but he doesn't have a resource. Well, guess what? If we work together, he can just refer that to us. So there's an ace in every single place. And if we work together and acknowledge what each person is an expert in, and what each person and which element is available, and we all work together, everybody benefits. So that's my off the cuff fill in the void right now. No comments are coming in, but I see 5 of you guys listening. So let's get some feedback. Let's have a conversation. I got to keep this going because it's going to go on a replay on an audio thing. I don't want any dead air, so I'm just gonna keep rambling on here. Let's see what we got. And Gary, thank you so much if you are listening. We know Tessa, heed the world. Thank you, Chantel. So let's go through the comments. That's just my feeling of this afterwards too. And the thing, okay, so about Lou, okay, like he is a person, he's an individual, he did a thing. Chris Rutowski, he did a thing and he did some help. There's a lot of names, there's a lot of people that do things and then it becomes a job and becomes a hobby and all these other things. But it all pushes the narrative forward. It's all important. It's all moving in that direction. The thing that we're just not getting is confirmation from the government because the government should know. But what if the government doesn't know? What if the government needs civilian science like us and UPACs, UAPX, and other organizations to work together to solve it? Maybe releasing the tic-tac videos wasn't part of a scam or a control factor, as many believe. Maybe it was, we don't know what it is, but there's a lot of acknowledgement that there's a lot of people devoting their time and energy to understanding these things that we might be able to explain what it is. And it's kind of like a validation. Well, if we don't know what it is, the United States government, why not put it out there to see if other people know what it is? And if they don't know what it is, then therefore, well, at least we can be certain that it is an unknown. And then they make a decision based on that, and they put parameters in place and all these other things, which could be why we have the that UFO program now in the United States. But with Canada's a little different. I'm still waiting for these comments, guys. Come on. I can't talk for like 20 minutes without any prep. This is off the cuff. But the Canada's perspectives. Canada has investigated UFO since the Cold War, 1950s and things like that. I can share this on our website in a minute too to get into that. They stop investigating through the Department of the Defense Research Board, DRB, stopped researching in 1996, but that's when Navigation Canada was created, which is a private company that still reports air traffic to military resources when there's UFOs reported, but it's privatized. And because it's privatized, we can't freedom of information request that. We can't ask them for information. As a private company ourselves, if someone were to FOIA us, we don't have to divulge that information. We're actually protected under what's called the PIPEDA, the Private Information and Protection Education or something like that. Can't remember what it is. PIPEDA is like the protection of information. So there's pros and cons of that. You have a private company that doesn't have to divulge, but you need to trust them. How do you trust them? And if they don't give you the information you're looking for, does that mean they're deceitful? No, it's just they have to protect. They have that obligation. If the experiencer chooses to report to you, you have that obligation to report to them and keep them safe and protected, because everybody else outside of that might cause harm to them or attack them or ask them in different ways. So we have to protect the experiencer because the experiencer comes out forward, which is why we support the experiencers. So where Tessa fits in with all of this as a take home for those of you who are still listening to this and maybe new to the channel, that's another reason why I'm continuing to do this, because he shared this on his following too, and is what we want to do is find the right place for everyone. We never want an experiencer to report to us and not get something in return. If they want support and we can't give them that support, then we want to have someone we can refer to. We are looking for reputable referrals and things like that. But to vet those people out, it's been troublesome. It's been hard because these people only will do it for money, which makes sense because people don't work for free. And so like there's that balance, there's that thing, there's that trade, there's always going to be that challenge. But you as an experiencer should never have to pay for a conversation. You should never have to pay to make a report. You should never have to pay to go to a symposium or an expo to hear people talk about stuff that can't be filmed or it can't be proven. If you're going to pay for something, membership to encourage, to raise the philosophy, to help other people who can't afford, that should be the reason what you pay for. But to provide a service like UPACs, UAPX, to hire them to do a job, they don't want to show up unless there's something for it. Now, me as a consumer, I wouldn't want to pay them to do a job unless I'm absolutely certain that they are going to be happy. But they might not care because they get paid anyways, right? But we as the person who has to put out that money, we want to make sure that we have something valid. So there is a need for someone like that, but through the association, we'll handle that. You make the report. we got to figure out why you are the way that you are. We connect you with the right people for your event, for your social, for what is going on. We help you with what you need. And then we get together at the end of the year and talk to our experts, and we try to come together and we analyze on that. That's what we've been trying to do. That is this whole entire year has been destructive for ufology. We've been highlighting all the problems and the issues that have come from the industry. Next year's plan with the academy and everything else is to rebuild and to show people our version of how we can work together. Excuse me. And the way we can work together is by teaching you guys how to investigate this stuff for yourself. I would much rather have less reports of and do quality investigations than to sift through thousands and thousands of cases because you don't understand. But if you report to me once and it happens to be a lens refraction, I'm not going to turn you away. I will teach you why it's a lens refraction until we're comfortable and you actually understand yourself why it is that. And if you still can't believe me at that point, that's okay. We'll get there. You can still hold on to your beliefs. I'm not going to discourage you from that. But if I'm able to show you through science and education and things like that, that this is the lens refraction, the next time you have an experience that looks like that, you might not report it. That's okay because you've learned. And then when you report, it's something else. And then we just continue working with you until we weed it out, until we actually get something we can use. But everything is valid. Even if it's not good, if it's not good for them or somebody else, that's okay. But everything is good for us. We will filter it, we will categorize it, and we will distribute it to people we trust with your permission, of course, that can actually weigh in. And we will only share the stuff that we can't explain. We remove the fluff. We break it down to acknowledging the possibility that some of these reporting is uneducated or like uninformed reporting. And we hope that by doing that year after year, and a few years from now, the reports that come in will be more quality because people will actually know how to get something concrete and usable. Chantel, what do you got here? You got something for me? I need your help, Chantel. Get some questions out here. If we got the world to all say it remains unknown, then what next? UFO and ET. Great question. So the Experience and Support Association, believe it or not, is not pushing for disclosure. We know that they know. We know that the phenomenon exists. We know that they don't understand what it is, or if they do, they're keeping it from us, but there's still other things. We know that there isn't a credible source enough to say yay or freaking nay. And so what we're doing is while others are pushing for disclosure and confirmation, we are preparing for what happens next. Because if you're an experiencer and you haven't come forward and because you're afraid of how you would feel or what other people would say to you and all these other things, and then disclosure happens, there's this thing that happens because some people might be like, oh my God, I told you, I knew it existed. Some people might be like, it doesn't exist. The skeptics, yeah, whatever. It's a lie. It's a scam. It's a psyop. It's a fraud. There are those sides of things. But the experiencers who believe that they had contact with extraterrestrials, those that are suffering, those that are in pain, when disclosure happens, those people are going to be scared. Those people are going to panic, and they're not going to have a place to go to. That's what TESA is. That's why we're trying to get that mission out there, so that way when disclosure happens, regardless of what you think of it, regardless of your interpretation, it's how you feel. If you're afraid of it, if you're unsure, we will help you get through that. And if we determine it's a known thing, that's okay if you accept it, but at least you're feeling better about it. We don't want you to feel negative about it. If an ET is contacting you and you feel negative about it, that might not necessarily mean the ET is trying to cause you harm. You just might be afraid. And then we talk about that, and we want you to feel more comfortable. And the next time you engage, we want you to get more evidence. And then we work with you because you have the connection. You are the experiencer. You are disclosure. And we need more people to come forward. Sharing your story and your testimony on podcasts and radio and things like that, that is great. That's good for you. That's good for everyone. But to make that better is to do that after it's been reported, after we've ruled out some things, and then we bring you on and then we talk, or other organizations, whatever it is you decide to use. You want to do a combination of both. We have Experiencers Anonymous happening this weekend. So that's which I'm leading into. Experiencers Anonymous is a program that we've designed based on the NA and the AA model. Like the fact that experiencers want to come forward and say, I had an experience. They believe it. They know what it is. They don't need to be challenged. They don't need to be investigated. They know, and this is how I feel. And because of this experience, it's changed my life. I do these things and I'm unable to do these things. And what we want to do is create that environment where others share their stories and they're able to help each other survive and live through the phenomenon and accept the phenomenon. Because if it exists and it's affecting our people and we can look at it in a positive way, we'll get better evidence. But we don't, and then we want you to report after you stop feeling bad about it. So for an example, if you're in an accident or something like that, you're in state of shock, you're in suffering, you are not thinking clearly, you are panicking. It doesn't matter if it's UFO or ghost, that has nothing to do with it. Your body just is experiencing something it can't compute. It's a program, it's a computer. So you need to give it time. But when you explain yourself, when you express yourself, you might say things you don't actually mean, because you're panicking, because you're scared, because of all these things. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're not telling the truth. So an investigator or a police officer would take your statement then you would relax and calm, and they would take your statement afterwards, and then they would compare it and see, after you've calmed down, after you've do you really believe this, and all these other things. And then we get better information. So the EA part is also beneficial for you if you guys just really don't know and you want to express. You can be anonymous. I'm not there. I'm not an investigator. This was created to remove me out so that way I'm not feeling emotionally attached to those who are suffering. So I can actually investigate this phenomenon unbiasedly with the data points and know that when you report that someone else, another part of the team, is helping you with the emotions. Because if I get emotionally involved, I believe all of you. I want to help all of you, but I can't help all of you correctly if I'm also emotionally involved. But the emotions are valid. And that's why Chantel and Tim and the Experiencers Anonymous team is very important for you to start with. It's free. It is every single month. I think we're aiming for the third weekend of every month. We want to do these in public, but we just want you to come forward and talk. And guess what? You don't have to be on video. You can just listen to others talk and share who are comfortable until you're ready, because someone else just might say something that you've experienced. Someone else might be going through the same thing, and you can help each other understand what this phenomenon. And all I need as an investigator in return is for you to make that report once that's done, so that way I can study it and find out, if it's not a known reason, and we can rule out mental illness, we can rule out all these things, and you're still drawing or seeing something that can't be explained, then we're validating you too. We deal with mental health all the time on a daily basis, as security guards and private investigators and things like that too. But we have to look at the facts. We acknowledge the emotion, we acknowledge the stress, we acknowledge that it exists, but it doesn't get us answers. So we can't ignore you. And a lot of people in this community don't have the credentials to deal with that, or they don't have the time or the patience, because they're specifically looking for that. It's not that they're not important, they're just not needed at this level. So the reason why we created the Experiencer Support Association is to help you at this level, to make you aware of the resources that are available. And so that way, when you make a choice, if you decide to report to MUFON even afterwards, at least you know well before what to expect from MUFON before you do it. And if it doesn't work, you still have us. We will match make you with whatever it is that you need, because it's tailored to your experience. And all of the phenomenons are connected. You are connected. If you the data is showing so far in the Ultra Spectrum report, which will come out, is that you guys are sharing characteristics, blood types. You guys are sharing eye colors. You guys are sharing hair color. You guys are sharing a lot of humanistic characteristics. with similar sightings. So this might connect to the psychogenic, to the mind, to the mental abilities and all these other things. It's very important that we study that too. But if you're not comfortable, you don't have to provide it. I don't need your report right away, but we want you to also be comfortable doing that. And if you are comfortable with reporting, it becomes anonymous if you select that. But even if you say that you're comfortable with coming forward, we're still going to protect your information. We have to, we must, because we don't know what everyone else is going to do with it. Yes, you trust us, but we don't trust them. And when we bring other resources in, when we have these professional partners, we've been promoting and wanting to have so much professional help for so long, and nobody is signing up. Either it doesn't exist, or they don't trust us, or they're not in it for you. They're in it for the money, or they're in it for profit or for their self-gain, which is okay. But if you engage in those and you know that and you accept that, then that's okay too. If you want to watch Ghost Adventures, you know that that's entertainment. Be entertained. Have fun. Don't get mad about it. Don't call them to come to your house and help you with all these things, because it's entertainment. You have to. So our point I'm trying to make is that we want to be the first stop. We don't have to be here forever, but we should be the first starting point to direct you in the path in which you need to travel to excel in order to be the best that you can be while engaging the phenomenon. I do not want anyone to be afraid of the phenomenon. I do not want anyone to be afraid of losing their job, to be afraid to be humiliated, to be afraid to stand up for themselves. It's okay if I may not believe that you are abducted by aliens. I might think that it was paranormal. I might think that it's you having a psychic ability. But that's speculation based on my understanding and interpretation, and I might give you that analysis. But you don't have to accept that. You don't have to believe that. And even if I do, you shouldn't believe that. You should go on and get second opinions, because it's you that experiences it. You go to a doctor, you get diagnosed with a disease. You're going to believe that doctor? You're probably going to go and get a second opinion. So that's very, very, very important. But if I don't believe that what you experience is what you say you experience is what you actually experience, I don't ignore the fact that you are feeling unvalidated, you are fearful, you are concerned, or maybe you're happy. And that's what's important too, is I'm experiencing a lot of people see these events as being positive. It's also being viewed positively. It's not as bad as everyone makes it sound. It's not as scary as some people leave it to be. A lot of people are opening up. A lot of people that are reporting to us. But here's the thing: we only have 134 reports for the last 2 years. There's 7 billion people in the world. I think 3 billion in Canada alone. We need these reports so that way we have more data to measure. We have the skills, we have the tools, we have the resources, we have the knowledge, we have the capability, but it's up to you to make that report. And if you don't report, we can't get the answers. And if you're uncomfortable with reporting now, continue to follow, continue to listen, go to EA. Okay, so you go to tessacan.org. I'll share my screen right now. Because I gotta get a drink somehow, because I actually did talk for 20 minutes. I didn't think I could. I feel the energy, feel the angels, I feel everything with me. So if you go to the Experiencer portal here and you click on events and you go to Experiencers Anonymous, you can register for it. And if you do that before the end, before Friday, so I guess tomorrow, I can send you the direct link. But if you scroll all the way down and you click here, this upcoming event, Experiencers Anonymous, right here, then you can register and get your free link for that. And all you do is you listen, you sit, you talk, you help each other understand the phenomenon. And if all of you guys can't figure it out together and you still want answers, then report it. And then Tim and I will try to understand what it is. We don't want to, but your report is still valid, even if you think that it's not. So submit a report. That's how you get to that. Okay, it's right there, tessacan.org, as it says in my name, in my handle there. you don't decide whether or not your report is useful. We decide that. And if it's not useful for something, it's useful for something else. We know that every single report can be used for something, and every single experiencer can be connected to a whole bunch of other resources. Okay, we have that figured out. We can classify it. All we need you to do is be comfortable, trust us, and confident enough to make that report. And if it's not us and you decide to report to someone else, if they've earned your trust, do that, because then you get it off your chest. But if they don't live up to the expectation in which you wanted, then apply to somewhere else. Share that event. That event is yours. You were contacted. You were contacted for a reason. And we're trying to understand what that reason is. Trying to find out why you guys are the way that you are. And once we are able to get enough data to what the ideal experiencer is, we can use that data to try and make contact, because we put all these people together in a room, and then we do a CE5. Then we levitate objects. Then we do a seance. We want the best of the best in the same room. Going out and doing these investigations blindly without any data to support it, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your energy, and it's good for media, it's good for TV, it's good for that, but it's not science. We have the capability of doing that, and we need you to make those reports. All right. So thanks, Chantel. Yeah, 1 billion people in Canada. Yeah, all right. I was just guessing. The point I was trying to make is that we're a small population, but in comparison to the rest of the world. And what do we got here? Lisa, suffering is terrible, but I keep living. That's all I've done all my life. And yeah, move forward, keep doing. Don't let it affect you. Share your experiences, and when you talk to them, tell them if you can communicate with them and they're harming you, maybe they don't mean to harm you. Talk to them, tell them what they're doing, and if they're intelligent and they don't want to do that, then maybe they'll work with you. Maybe they're misunderstood too. We don't know. We got to capture one. We got to interrogate one to figure that out. But but you are having the experience. You are having contact. So it's up to you to drive that to get more information, because you're able to make contact. I don't know why. And that's what I'm trying to learn, is why you're able to. And then once I'm able to figure out how you're able to make contact, I'm going to make contact in the same way. So once I make contact, I will be able to understand the phenomenon from my perspective, because I've also had experiences. But I'm also trying to understand and look for particular criteria of individuals that may also fit my criteria, because I know what happened to me, and I need other people that, I'm building a team of people that have similar experiences, so I can actually understand what happened to me. I'm an experiencer too. You're not alone. And a lot of these people in the UFO community have not had experiences, and they're famous. Why? I don't know. That's because of you. That's because of you guys. If they're not good for ufology, stop watching them. If they're not helping you, stop giving them your attention. And if this is good for you, share, encourage, whatever works for you. Okay. And then we'll I guess I got to leave it. I made it to the hour. Right on. Emotions and perspectives is so unique to the individual, but paddling the canoe upriver is hard, and we can all take steps to turn the canoe around to flow with the current. Yes, we can. Thank you, Chantel. Absolutely. Teamwork makes the dream work. And Lisa says, just listening is good. Yes, it is. It helps. You are, you mentioned EA is great, so I can say that you've attended EA, so and you have gone there several times, and you continue to help, you continue to learn, you continue to grow, because you have experiences all the time. I wish that every time you had an experience you made a report, but maybe you guys just aren't bothering me with things that you're figuring out yourself. But you got to think about the reports too, as you're helping others. We want others to come forward. The good thing about MUFON is, according to Lisa Savoy, is the good thing about MUFON is the reason I got to know you. And yeah, MUFON, I don't talk ill about the organization, gave me opportunity. It introduced me to the phenomenon. My intelligence around, or my education around the subject matter and evidence is what led me to believe that something doesn't add up. My ingenuity, my attitude, my encouragement from my wife and my family and everyone else. Well, not really anybody else. My wife's like my sole supporter. She's my cheerleader. But the encouragement that I had behind that to push that envelope to get to this spot was myself as well, with her as well. Is we're doing that for the experiences, because it was more than that. But I can't forget that MUFON gave me that opportunity to even be introduced to that phenomenon. It's a good starting step, but it's not the next level. That's my cat. Sorry about that. Callie, get out of here. So MUFON is great. It's a good starting point, and it was good at some point. And the investigating model that I'm putting through with the Academy, with my experience as the director of investigations for TESA, but the previous experience as the director of field investigator training, I am simply creating a model that MUFON needs. And I'm hoping that the investigators from MUFON at some point will see the resources, and whether they take credit from us or not, they learn from it and they do better for themselves. Why? Because it's the experiencer that chose them. And if you are working for MUFON or any other organization, UAPX, and an experiencer chooses you because of what you've done, you owe them that attention. You owe them that stuff that they're looking for. Give that to them. And you, as the experiencer, if you're not unable to get what it is you're looking for, because you know what you're looking for, then look elsewhere. But TESA is designed so that way, if you can't find what you're looking for, you can tell us what you need, and we will create that environment for you. We will create that new world to have that. You have validity to an opportunity to give us feedback when you make these reports and what you're actually looking for. If you make a report and say, I want you to do this and do that, and we don't have a resource for it, we'll create a resource, because we know that you need that. Join the YouTube channel. You become a paid member, $2.99 a month, or $4.99 a month. You get bonus content and things like that. But as a YouTube member, you're a shareholder. If you want us to do something specifically to raise money for the organization, you get a say. So there's just so many things. We support each other, not just the research, not just the experiencers. We help each other. We must work together. We are looking for volunteers. If any of you guys want to do any of that stuff. So that's the sale pitch. I got a dry mouth, talking too long, drinking pop. I'm burping. There's 5 of you guys watching, and thank you so much for keeping the for staying. I gotta go now, so we're gonna end it with that. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Have a great weekend, and thanks for watching. Keep your eyes in the sky, and remember, heed the world. Peace.